Welcome back to the Journey Podcast, and thanks so much for taking just a little bit of extra time out of your week this week to join us as we continue to learn together how hearing others' stories helps us to live a better story ourselves. Sometimes our lives take a turn that we don't expect. Sometimes it's for the worse and we have to recover, and sometimes it's for the better. And sometimes those life changes happen later in life than we think they would. Today we get the opportunity to talk to Jerry Applegate, a runner who competes with the U.S. national team for his age range, and he's going to tell us his story about turning his health around and how running has helped him form a deeper relationship with Christ and the people around him. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Journey Podcast. My name is Eli, and I have the pleasure today of being joined by a really awesome guy named Jerry Applegate. Thanks so much for joining me here today, Jerry.
Thank you.
So, just jumping right into it, Jerry, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and maybe what you do.
Well, my name is Jerry Applegate. I'm married to Annette Applegate, and I have a father of three, Bryant, Jacqueline, and Karis Applegate. Bryant's a minister in Lexington, Kentucky. And Jacqueline is a doctor of pharmacy, and Karis is goes to Morehead State.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, like as far as kind of what we're going to be chatting about today.
How this all started was my daughter Karis, who got a D1 scholarship to go to Morehead State to run track. I was coaching her. And I weighed 230 pounds. I was overweight and running down the track with her. And she says, "Dad, why don't you get into running?" And I'm like, "Honey, I am 50 pounds overweight, and there's nothing really out there for me."
Yeah.
So she goes, "Well, check online and see." So I do. I get online and I check, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they've got this masters athletes all over the world, just like the amateurs and the professionals, and it goes to masters."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, well, I'll try to get involved." And I pulled up my age group at that time, and there was over 26,000 athletes in my age group.
That's incredibly surprising.
A lot.
I would have never guessed there was that many.
No, I wouldn't have either. And I was like, 26,000? So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and see what I can do." I'll never forget the first meet I went to. It was actually in Michigan. My wife went with me, and I had trimmed down a little bit to about 200 pounds. I'm like, okay. So I go down the track and I'm warming up and getting ready, and I get going and I finish second. I'm like, wow. I walk up afterwards and I talk to my wife. I said, "Well, how'd I look?" She goes, "Truth?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "You looked a little bigger than the rest of those guys." I said, "Gee, thanks."
Maybe a little less honest next time. Just a little less. That's funny.
A little bigger than them other guys. I said, "Okay." So, but I'm a type of person that I like to go back to the drawing board and start over and analyze certain things. And what I've done over the last, I'm getting ready to go into my sixth year. This is my 6th year. And ran all over the United States, competed against some of the best athletes in the world. Was going to Poland to run for the United States this past spring, but had health problems. I had a kidney stone right before that, and I couldn't go.
Oh gosh!
So I had to cancel my hotel, my airfare, everything. Yeah. But they did send me my Olympic uniforms. I got my uniforms to represent the United States.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, to put on the United States outfit and to represent the United States is good honor. I feel a good honor for me to do that, be able to do that.
And what a unique thing to experience too, because not many people get to experience that.
Oh no, that's when I watch track and field on TV and stuff like that, I see the discipline that these people put in to get to that level is, first of all, they have to have great talent anyway, but
Sure.
then to analyze that talent and break it down to make it even better it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But to be at that level, just to be able to do, a handful of people being able to do that, to do that.
Well, and let's backtrack just a hair. That's all really amazing stuff, and maybe this will lead into it just a little bit. But so you talked about how your daughter kind of got you into it, and how she was the one who initially encouraged you, and then you looked online. But how do you get plugged in on a national scale? That seems pretty wild to me, because especially to the point to where you're going to Poland. I think you were going somewhere else too, right? Or maybe I'm
the Poland was the one I was getting ready to go out of the United States.
Yeah.
And then this coming year, they scheduled up for the next coming year would be in Sweden. I would be in Sweden.
Yeah. So it's opened up a lot of opportunities even abroad, some really interesting. So how did you then get plugged in even to get to that level? Because I think it's one thing to enter in and say, okay, I'm going to compete against people. But is that just from your dedication and getting noticed along the way?
What you in the track in the Masters is what they do is each state has competition levels. You go to that competition level and participate in that level. If you feel like you want to go on to a regional level and then to a national level, that's your choice. But as you go, each level is getting tougher and tougher to get there.
Sure.
So to run at a national level, or to be at that level, say I go out here and I run a 15-second 100 meters, and I know when I get to the national level, a 12 seconds is going to be some of your slowest. Do I want to put myself through that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or do I'm just saying, I did it. I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that really, I would want to be able to be competitive when I'd done it.
Sure. And you were.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And so how much of that hurdle was physical and how much of that hurdle was mental to push through to the point to where you're like, no, I'm actually going to take the step and do this?
Right. Well, I'm a type of person when, like I said, when I do something, I want to try to do it the best that I possibly can do it. I don't compare myself a lot to other people because their level may be a little slower, maybe a little faster. It just depends. For me, I analyze things. I analyze runners. I watch runners all the time. I analyze their stride. I analyze what they're doing, which also brings that over to my spiritual side.
Sure.
Because what it does is what I was doing in the last 5 years and just being on the track and doing certain things kind of programmed me a little bit.
Sure.
To where I transfer it over to my spiritual side.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, at 62 years old and running 400 meters in 61 seconds is not easy.
I don't think I'm not even remotely that age. I don't think I could do that now.
It is not easy. You have to be mentally focused, plus being in physical shape too.
Sure, of course.
So, and they always said that what you do or what you spend a lot of time at is truly what you love.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I transformed that over into my spiritual side. If I'm spending 2 hours at least a day or every other day on the track, how come I'm not spending that seeking Jesus?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I would do now, I've gotten more wisdom as I've gotten probably more in the last 5 years than I did my whole life, because it's been put together. I basically start every morning if all possible, I get up and I listen to ministry for at least 30 to an hour in God's Word. So that puts my mental aspect of Jesus first. medals or whatever, that means nothing without Jesus.
Sure.
And I say that in my posts. I do put that on there sometimes, that Jesus is number one. He's the one who gives you the ability to breathe, to live, to think, to care, to love. Without him in your life or your heart, you're lost.
Definitely.
And this give me guidance through my life in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
This put me, hey, you should be seeking him, because he's seeking you constantly.
Yeah.
And he is never unfaithful to me.
Yeah.
And I have been to him, but he's never been to me. He's always been faithful to me.
Which always gives you such a great perspective on things too. You know, I appreciate what you were saying about how, like, what you invest your time into reflects what you care about, what you love. And so as you spent this time and you developed this, because I'm sure it started out as a passion for your daughter and seeing her run and succeed. That's probably where it started, right?
Right. It started out for the passion of helping my daughter to see her succeed and run. And then when I got to coaching with the other children, it's just like, I love this. I love watching these children grow mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Now, I coached at Brighton County 2 years, Mason County 3 years, indoor and outdoor. And the last year I didn't get to do the outdoor because I was gone. But I've got to see some children develop mentally. I've seen some of them got develop spiritually.
Yeah.
Because there has a few times, we sat and we have prayed before meets. Some kids did, some kids didn't. I didn't force nothing upon them, which I don't think anything should be forced upon them anyway.
Oh, sure.
Because when you force something on somebody, it's not going to take 9 out of 10 times.
Well, it's the same thing you just said. It's what you put time into is what you care about.
That's right.
You can't force someone to spend time. And so it's got to be the same kind of transferring properties to, obviously with our faith, but with anything. Same thing with like track and field. You try and instill these values and instill these coaching methods, and you try and help progress them as people and as athletes. But at a certain point, they got to take it on themselves.
Right.
Just like in our faith.
Right. And I've seen some of these children go through hard times in life and on the track. I've seen them smile. I've seen them cry, and even the relationships I've gotten with the children as they've grown older. I mean, they'll see me now and they're hollering, "Hey, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen," which is great. And just to be able to influence or touch some child's life,
sure, in
that aspect, is an amazing feeling.
Yeah. Well, and what a huge honor too, right? I mean, like, it's not every day you get to help, and obviously, like we said, people have to make their own decisions, but it's not every day you get to help form a person, right, and like help influence them. Like, I feel so strongly, especially with people that I've helped mentor, that anyone who comes and even trusts me with something they're struggling with, I feel like the more seriously, especially as Christians, we take that, especially as followers of Christ, the more seriously we take that, that's only going to benefit them further, right? So the more seriously you take your faith and your individual journey with running, that's only going to help improve them as you try and guide them.
Right. And I think you lead by example.
Oh, yeah.
And these children see that. And a lot of times they're always saying, "Oh, Jerry, where you running at next? You're running for the USA." Yeah. And they're chanting USA. I'm like, wow. So, but they, believe me, children observe very well. And they see just as a parent, or as a coaches have to really understand how much influence that they can have on a child.
Yeah, for sure.
I recommend all coaches stay positive, no negativity, no nothing, anything like that, to set the good example for them.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the main things that I really enjoyed was coaching with the children.
Yeah.
And then moving on towards with my running, starting out, they have in USA Track and Field, they have the masters list. Like they have the 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meters, 800, 1500. They have all, and they rank you. So if you want to pull up a ranking, if you say, "Oh, how good am I across the United States or the world?" You can pull that up.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they got you ranked. So my goal is they only listed the top 25 in the United States.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, my goal is getting the top 25.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Get your name up there.
Get my name on it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I got in the top 25, and then I started getting down to the top 10, and started top 5. And so that's where I was starting to even out in, and and it's hard to get in the top 5 in all 100, 200, 400. I mean, it's difficult to do.
They're all different types of races.
Yeah, different types of races. So you got to really practice it to get to that. Now from here on is going to be more of we've got a team of 4x4, and we're trying to break the American record this spring. So
is that crazy to talk about? Like, even like, because I'm a big sports fan. I watch just about every sport known to man. I remember one time, it was the first few months that I had been here, or actually the first few weeks that I had been here, and so I didn't really know anybody on staff. And our old youth pastor Brandon, we were sitting in the van on the way to a conference in Chicago, and I don't know what got us there, but we like somehow watched curling, the little thing with the icebox, for like 2.5 hours. And I was like, man, I should I will literally watch any sport. It doesn't even matter. I don't understand what's happening, but I'm like, oh, that's cool. I guess I'm here for it. But I don't know, that totally derailed my train of thought. But is that not like an insane thing to think about, that you personally could change something that is there can only be one record for this, and you're looking at taking that. Right.
It's like, okay, we put this team together in January. I've got a gentleman out who lives in New York. He's from Jamaica. Mm-hmm. I got a gentleman who lives in Miami. He's from Cuba. I got a guy who lives in Virginia, and me lives here. We formed this team together, and we put it together, and we went to everybody's heard called the Penn Relays. Penn Relays is one of your prestigious runs in the United States. When you get there, it's crazy. When you get there as just an athlete, the stands hold 25,000 people, and it's like when you're walking into a coliseum. Like,
that's intimidating.
Yes,
that's wild.
And when we got there, it took me personally 2 hours just to get in the stadium. Wow. As an athlete. It was that crazy around.
Jeez.
And when we got there, we got our team together. We didn't get a whole lot of warm up, and it was like 55 degrees because the Penn Relays are always in the 1st of April, right around in there. Mm-hmm. And it was cold, a little cold and stuff, and we got down on the track, and there's like, it was 10,000 people in the stands.
That's crazy.
It's like, wow. So when you're down there, I've used to playing on a team. I've played on a team mostly all my life, but when you walk on the track, yes, you're a team, but yet you're an individual.
Yeah.
You have to carry your own load,
which is puts you in a totally different mental state.
Yeah. Yes. If you'll notice, your 4x1s or your 4x4s will run a faster time a lot of times than sometimes than just individuals, because people are counting on you.
Yeah. That extra drive, that extra,
yes.
yeah.
And what had happened to me, I mean, this is at the Penn relays. I run the first leg, so I got to get the team off. I got to get them going, and I didn't get warmed up really great, and I got to about 180, 200 meters, and my hamstring started really, really tightening. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna pull this hamstring, and these guys are waiting for me. I cannot let them down.
Yeah.
So it kicked in. I started short stepping my stride so I wouldn't pop the hamstring. But I still got around there, and we still ran well. We won gold in it in the Penn relays, and Carl Lewis was there. The Olympian Carl Lewis was there. You got to meet him, and
that's wild.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Carl Lewis is here,
yeah.
with stuff here. It's like, okay,
yeah.
But those are experiences that you become a family, really.
Sure.
Once you go to a lot of these places, you'll see your best, some of your best athletes. They become like a family, and they're not. Then it takes just not on the track, but off the track.
Definitely.
Then it becomes, hey, I had a lady told me, hey, I'm going to have some kind of surgery. Can you pray for me? Yeah. See, then it becomes, now I'm communicating with people that if I had never been on this track, that I would have never known. See, I think God puts people in certain places for certain times, for certain reasons.
Absolutely.
For certain seasons.
Yeah.
And, so now all over the United States, I know people all over the United States that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't been in this situation.
Well, and isn't that just like kind of what we were talking about before? You have, you meet this person and it's the same thing. And what you invest time into shows what you care about. And so now you're not only investing time in track and field, but these people around you, you're investing time in them, and you develop those relationships.
Right.
And you develop that desire to be there with them and for them. But I think actually what you were saying a moment ago about the mentality and where that kind of puts you is such an interesting parallel to our faith, right?
Yes.
Because you are there and you're running your race. But you're also surrounded by a team of people who want to see you succeed and are pushing you, right. and you want to push them and you want to walk alongside them. I think that's just like awesome parallel.
Whenever I go to a big meets or competition, now these people are all really good runners. You don't hear any negativity.
Sure.
They're all mentally strong, positive people.
Yeah.
And that's what you feel around these people.
Yeah.
There's no dragging down or no negativity or nothing like that. Even if they don't have a great day, they're still motivated for you. They're like, hey, every time you get ready to go do your race, they're screaming at you, hey, come on, just go get it.
That's awesome.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
Even if they had to run against you the next day.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah. Well, and it's again just another. I'm never realized how many parallels running had to our faith, but like in the same way that we're meant to encourage and build up in our faith and our walks alongside each other, we all know how hard it is to get from where we were to where we are. Right. Both in your running, like. I think the thing with everyone there is you all know to get to the level you guys are at, that's not an easy thing. And all of you had to put in the work. All of you had to put in the effort and the sacrifice. But it's the same thing with our faith. Everyone has their own experiences. Everyone has their own trials and troubles that they go through. And by the time we all get to where we're at with our faith, it's like, man, I know what you've been through isn't easy. Let's encourage and be supportive of one another.
Right. I think it runs together like that. With your spiritual aspect of it, is that, look, we are a long way from perfect.
Oh yeah.
We fall short, glory God, every day.
Yeah. And
I think people want to be so judgmental anymore that it's like, why are you judging anyone?
Yeah.
First of all, we need to just look into the mirror. and look at our own self, our own faith, our own ability. And I think, like I said, as I've gotten a little bit older, maybe a little bit more wiser, is that one day I will have to answer for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't answer for you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in your heart or your mind or what happened in your past.
Yeah.
So, and I think as time has went on, that I personally have realized, hey, Jesus died for me.
Yeah.
And I'm out here trying to live my life for me instead of him.
Yeah.
See, when all that balance starts coming back and say, he died for me.
Yeah.
He gave his life for me.
Yeah.
I give my life to him.
Yeah. It's a natural response, right?
That's the response that it took me years to understand that.
Yeah. But it feels right when you get there.
But it feels right when you get that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it took years to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people get it early in life, some people don't.
Yeah.
It just, he let me live long enough for me to understand it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's such a beautiful thing that it as believers, every, pun intended, every race looks different. Every race is run differently as a believer. But man, once we all get there and can live harmoniously and live in a space where we all know, as you said, my life is not for me anymore. My life is for him. And that's when we find that unison as a body of Christ. And that's when we're able to love the unlovable. Right. And that's when we're able to reach those that are far from him. And that's when we're really, really able to live as God calls us to live, is when we can finally say, okay, I'm not doing this for me anymore.
Right. This is not my life.
Yeah.
According to Scripture and what Jesus is telling me, I live for him.
Yes.
And as a Christian, you want to show that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's certain things that you could be great at. You could be great as a speaker. You could be great as a preacher. You could be great as a singer. Mm. Not everybody has those abilities. But I think if you ask God every day, just give me one thing today that you want me to do.
Yeah.
To show who you are.
Yeah.
Just one.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it could be anything. It could be cutting a neighbor's grass. It could be helping an elderly person do something. It could be anything that shows love.
Yeah. Because
that's what God is, love.
Absolutely, man.
Love is what Jesus brought to the earth.
Mm-hmm. You're spot on. Man, I love that. Thanks so much for that encouragement there at the end. Well, I think that about does it for everything with us today, Jerry. I've really enjoyed talking to you today, man. Thank you for coming in. Maybe it's my love of sports, or maybe you're just a great storyteller, but man, I have just really enjoyed talking to you. And as far as everybody listening, thanks so much for checking out another episode of the Journey Podcast. If you haven't listened to previous episodes, we've had a few really, really good ones just here done recently. So make sure you go back and check out the ones that we've done not so long ago, or even start at the beginning. It's a great place to start. But again, thank you so much for joining us on the Journey Podcast, where we believe hearing other people's stories helps us to live a better story ourselves.